Welcome to Creativerse. I would want to say welcome to this beginner phase of the course. So first of all, what is 3ds Max? 3ds Max is a professional 3D modeling, animation and rendering software developed by Autodesk, widely used for creating 3D assets and visual content. 3ds Max is mainly used in 3D modeling, that is hard surface and architectural models, architectural visualization, game asset creation, product visualization, motion graphics, rendering, and lighting. But it is especially strong in hard surface modeling and architecture. That is why architects usually use 3ds Max, whereby whenever they are done with their 2D drawing in AutoCAD, they export it directly into 3ds Max, basically. Alright, so let's move on into understanding the interface of the software, because understanding any software is easy when you understand the interface. So let's dive straight into it. I'll begin by opening my software again. So let me close this. Don't save. Alright, so okay, if it's just the first time you're opening your software, there should be a welcome screen. Okay, at the start of the programs appears the welcome screen, which presents information on 3ds Max. This information will help a user like you to learn and be inspired to use the 3ds Max interface. Okay, but for me, this is not my first time. So basically, this is how it should look. Okay, so next thing, let's look at all of these panels and what they do. So first thing first, we have our viewports. Okay, this is our viewport here. We have the top view, as you can see here, the top view. We have the front view, we have the left view, and we have the perspective view. Over here we have the Workspace selector. Okay, you can click and there'll be a change in your workspace. You can also come down to your main toolbar and there will also be a change. So I'll go back to my default. Over here we have the menu bar, file, edit, tools, groups, views, create. Just like your normal software, like your Microsoft Word, Excel and the rest, these are all your menu bar, all the way to substance and then help. Okay, just below your menu bar, we have the main toolbar. So these are your menu bar, these are your main toolbar. Here we have the undo and your redo, your linking, unlinking, okay, back to space warps. We have your select and move, rotate, select and uniform scale, and so on and so forth. We have your snap toggle, your angle snap, and others like your align, your scene explorer, layer explorer, your show ribbon, curve editor, and so much more. Okay, we're going to be looking at all of this later on in the course of the class. There's another section of your workspace called the ribbon. It doesn't show by default. So to see a ribbon, click somewhere here, wait for a while, and then you're going to be having your ribbon here. So whenever you draw, let's say something like so, this can become active. Okay, let me show you something briefly so that you can appreciate this more. So if this is converted, more and more can still be shown here. Okay, so that is how your ribbon is. At times here can be so much more populated all the way to here. So that is that for your ribbon. So to collapse this, you click this and then it's back to normal. At this point, I'll go on to delete this. Let's move on. Next, we have our Scene Explorer, which is found here. If it's not here, you can come here and find your Scene Explorer. When you click this, another one could come up here, but we have one here already. So when you click here and you begin to draw, whatever you draw becomes an object in your Scene Explorer. If I draw a sphere, another object. If I draw a cone, another object. If I draw a cylinder, another object. If I draw a teapot, under object. When I come in here and I drag this up a bit, I will see that here I have an eye icon. Here I can turn off, what I've drawn, which is this. Okay, I can turn it off. I can as well go ahead to freeze it. And when you freeze something, it becomes gray, or it turns to gray, basically. I can move on and on. I can turn them all off, like so. So we could say that our Scene Explorer is where we could manage the files we have, or the object we have in our scene or on our scene. Then on the right here, we have our panels. Okay, there are about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 panels. Here we have the Create panel, the Modify panel, the Hierarchy, the Motion, the Display, and the Utilities. When you click your Create panel, that gives you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sub panels. So under your Create panel, we have the geometry, shapes, lights, cameras, helpers, space wraps, and systems. So all of this together are in your Create panel. When I go into the next panel, it changes to something else here in my Command panel, where I have my Modify panel. So I can come to my Create panel in the geometry. I can draw something in 2D, in 3D rather, in my shapes. I can come here and draw in 2D. Okay, and in the long run, you come to understand that your Command panel is where you're going to be doing a lot aside from your viewport in the long run. Okay. All right. As I said earlier, we have our viewport here. Okay, where this. When you click this, you can use your Alt W, that is a shortcut, to maximize a viewport. If I'm here in my top view and I want to maximize this viewport, Alt plus W, maximize. To go back, Alt W. In my front view, Alt W. To go back, Alt W. Left, Alt W. Go back. In my perspective, once I click Alt W, and I'm in this viewport. So I'm going to maximize this, and we're going to continue from here hence. Coming down here, we have the MaxScript mini listener. Okay, we have the pink and the white. The pink represents the macro recorder, while the white, represents the scripter. In the long run, we're going to be using this as the needs comes up. So moving on, we also have what we call the status line and the prompt line here. Status line and the prompt line. Now, talking about the status line, it displays the number of objects or objects selected as well as their type. Take for instance, if I click this, I have one object selected. If I click this too, and I click, holding my control, click, I'm having 4 entities selected. So it's telling me 4 entities has been selected. Alright, so under the status line, we have the prompt line. Okay, this gives ongoing feedback as to what is happening. So if I click this, this is telling me that I can select and drag to move, because this is my move tool. If I hit my E, I'm in my rotate. It's not telling me click and drag to select and rotate. Take for instance, if I click my move tool from here, from my main toolbar, it's saying what? Click and drag to select and move. When I go on to hit my scale, more like to scale this up, like so, it's now say click and drag to select and scale objects. Alright, if I move on to the rotate, which is this, it's now saying click and drag to select and rotate. So we could say that our status line and prompt line gives us an overview of what is happening in our viewport, or let's say of what is happening on the object selected in our viewports. So coming here, we have the isolate. So let's say I have other objects. I'll come to my command panel. Under my create, I'll go to my geometry, click, and I would love to draw, let's say, 3 more objects You can play around with that. I'll go on to draw a pyramid. I'll go on to draw a teapot. Okay, I'll click here for the move. Take note whenever you draw, when you're done, you can click your move, okay, or probably uncheck that. Alright, so we have something called your isolate. What does the isolate do? When I click an object and I click this isolate button, what it does is that it isolates it. I have not deleted object here yet. They are still there, but it has isolated this object. If I click here now, I can now see other objects. So same way with this, same with this. So that is what that does. Next to it, we have the select lock toggle. So when I click this and I click this, now what happens is that it locks every other object aside the object that is selected. Take note, it does not lock the object selected. So if I click it and I come here, clicking this button, it locks all other objects except this, and this will cause. So at the end of the day, I can move this and I cannot select this at all. So I'm going to unlock this. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, next we have the coordinate display. Okay, we have the coordinate display all here. What does this do? Basically, when you click an object, looking at it, it's telling you, okay, the X, Y, and Z information. Now you have your gizmo here. Here you have your Z pointing upward. You have your X pointing to the left. You have your Y pointing this way. So if you observe, I can move this object by dragging in the X direction. And guess what? When I move in the X direction, it updates here. That means I can move it like so, or move it like so. Same for my Y, I can move it like so, or move it from here like so. Our Z is up and down, so I can move it up and down, or I can move this up and down. So if I decide to make everything here 0, that means this will be on the grid. To turn here to 0, you can highlight and put in your 0, or just right click this part here. Right click, it turns 0. Right click, it turns 0. When everything's on 0, 0, 0, it means it's at the center of our grid, our home grid. Take for instance, we have, and move this a bit, we have lines moving up and down here. So when you draw something, let's say a box, and you hit this or hit a W. When you hit this, and you can right click, and right click, and you are rest assured that everything is at the center of your grid. So that is that basically. Okay, next we have animation and time controls, which can be found here. Okay, this will be so much useful when we begin our animation. So for now, we're going to keep this simple. We'll just take note that here is your animation and time controls. Furthermore, at the extreme here, we have our viewport navigation. Okay, so we can say that our time control is between our viewport navigation, okay, and your status bar. So we're going to draw a box, and on this box, take note that your middle mouse button is used for zooming. You can zoom in using your middle mouse button, just scroll like so. When you hold your Alt and you press hold your middle mouse button, you can orbit. It's what we call orbiting. Okay, so I can go round and round and round. Now when you hold down your middle mouse button like before, but this time without your Alt, you can pan. So most of the time with 3ds Max, you are either going to be zooming in and out, you're either going to also be panning, and you're also going to be orbiting. So you orbit, you pan, and then you zoom. Okay, take note of that. Alright, so this brings us to the end of this video that talks about introduction to 3ds Max. In the next video, we'll move on into understanding other parts of the 3ds Max interface. See you in the next class. Thank you. Bye.